So I've seen a couple videos of these in the past, and they'll continually come out throughout YouTube, and that is basically throughout G-fans. A lot of people think, what would I do with a Godzilla film? Like, most people think to themselves, man, if I had a chance to make a Godzilla movie, this is how it would go. Like, this is how I'd play it out. So I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring and talk about my idea for a Godzilla film. So, my idea for a Godzilla film doesn't really follow any continuity. It's not like MonsterVerse or like any of the Japanese era films. It's kind of its own continuity, let's just say that. And this would be a period piece film. This would be set during the 1950s, specifically the Korean War. I don't think we do enough with if Godzilla had existed, I would love to, I don't think no one's really gone into the whole idea of a kaiju wading into a battlefield. That's kind of like no one's really delved into that. I've seen some books, but no one goes too deep. The farthest I've seen it specifically with Godzilla was one issue of Godzilla: The Half-Century War, where Godzilla and Anguirus fought for the first time in this continuity in the middle of the Vietnam War. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to do a Godzilla, wouldn't it be fun to do a Godzilla film, but not like during Vietnam, we got that with Kong, kinda. I would set it during the Korean War, mostly because a lot of people forget about it. The Korean War is usually known as the Forgotten War, and there's a lot of bad shit that happened in that war. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if you had a monster thrown into it? Like, even better, I'll do you one better, what if it was Godzilla who showed up? So let's say, for sake of argument, that in this continuity, Godzilla has been known. Like, he has been seen. This isn't really like Godzilla's, second appearance, oh my god, I thought Godzilla died. It's him back. No, people know, Godzilla died, this is the new one. This is another Godzilla. But I would leave it up to interpretation that maybe the Oxygen Destroyer didn't kill him, or maybe it did kill him, and Godzilla's just can regenerate like fucking Wolverine and come back from a single fucking cell. People I would throw that out that people are throwing out theories maybe it's Godzilla, he regenerated from just maybe there's just a small piece of him and now he's just regenerated back. Or I would also throw out the idea of maybe he's not even radioactive at all. Maybe he's some vengeful spirit. I'd really play up all angles of Godzilla in here. I'd really love to play up all the angles of what you could do with Godzilla, or what people have done with Godzilla. So, in this story, what happens is that, like I said, this would be set during the Korean War, but I would not have it centered around the army. I would not have it set around the U.S. military. They would have some say, and I wouldn't set it around the Korean army, or the North Korean army, or the Chinese army. No army. This would be specifically set around those who are in the dead center of it. This movie would focus primarily, I would have some scenes of the military, but primarily it would center around civilians. A lot of people don't know this, but there was some really bad shit that happened to a lot of Korean villages in both the North and South by both Chinese, North Korean soldiers, and in some cases American soldiers. A lot of people forget that there were some horrendous war crimes that happened, and a lot of people were relocated during this war on both sides. So, imagine if you threw a giant fucking lizard in the middle of that. Imagine if you just threw a giant monster that's impervious to military at the center of it. So this would focus on this would focus primarily on the civilian group. And again, I don't think we get a lot of that in kaiju films, not just Godzilla, but kaiju films in general, where you focus on the civilian aspect. You get a lot of these movies. I'm not saying they're not every movie in kaiju films focuses on civilians. Cloverfield, obviously. War of the Worlds, the Tom Cruise one, is another one. So, and it has been done before, but you don't get enough of it. And I don't think you get a lot of it from Godzilla. Sure, you've had some in the show-off films, but it usually ties in the government, or someone's really smart, like a scientist. So you never, and again, we're dealing with not just the horrors of a monster, we're dealing with the horrors of war. And again, I think that's a really cool that would be a really cool concept to really explore, of the idea of now you're not just dealing with this monster just wading his way into the Korean War, but you also have literal human monsters out there. So this would basically take place, like I would say, like we're halfway through this isn't like towards the end of the Korean War. We're like in the thick of it. We are in like the bloodiest points, like the middle of it. We are at the height of this Korean War, and essentially what is going on is that Godzilla has appeared. He's destroyed several naval ships, and now he's making it into the Korean mainland. And people are like, "What the hell? Like, why is he here?" Like, no one knows why Godzilla just suddenly showed up, destroyed several naval ships, and is now making his way through the Korean war zones. Because now not only do you have to deal with, relocating military and forces because Godzilla's coming, so you're either, now you have to fight both this monster who's been proven he can't be killed, and you have to fight waves upon waves of enemy forces. Not only that, this is another thing I really want to bring back with because we don't really talk about this in a vast majority of Godzilla films outside of Gojira. Frickin' the dude is a walking nuclear I'm tongue-tied. He's literally a nuclear fallout. He's literally nuclear fallout on two legs. So wherever Godzilla goes, he literally just irradiates the world. He just irradiates the pathway. So when Godzilla starts making his way through the mainland and destroying armies in his way, he's literally poisoning the world around the land around him. So people just can't go back. One of those things, like I said, this would be civilian-centric, is that the military, forces them out of their homes and forces them to leave. And then Godzilla just smashes his way through and irradiates, and now they can never go back. There is no chance of that ever happening now, because Godzilla just literally made the area a fucking mini Chernobyl. And that's and like I said, military-wise, you have to, the military scenes would basically be like, what do we do now? Like, they talk to their Japanese allies and be like, okay, you dealt with Godzilla before, right? You've beaten him. And there's like, we didn't beat shit. We got lucky. And the only weapon that we think could kill him died with the original guy. It died with Dr. with Dr. Serizawa, who used the oxygen destroyer. We don't know how to build that again. And who's to say it did kill him? For all we know, Godzilla may have just regenerated himself, and this is the same Godzilla. For all we know, this is the same one. So who's to say it did even work? So what the hell do you want us to do? And in typical, war fashion, a lot of factions would be blaming the other side. Even allies would be blaming each other. So yeah, there's no doubt in my mind, if you had Godzilla wandering through the Korean war zones, the American forces and South Korean forces would be blaming Japan for being like, you said you killed him. Why is he here? You killed, damn it. We should have never trusted you. And stuff like that. Because I guarantee you, the second shit would go wrong, instant name calling. That's just in shitty human nature. But like I said, this would very much focus on, the civilians who are not just being affected by, the effects of this war, these horrors that are being put upon them, from being relocated to being, tied up and raped and murdered, just because you're here and we don't like you, we're gonna kill you. And now you have a monster who is something beyond that, like a literal god on two legs, God walking among them, who is just making his way through the city. And you didn't even, that would be the thing, Godzilla at the end of it would be like, yeah, people would say, oh, the army brought him here, or, the Americans would be like, oh, the Chinese or the South or the North Koreans, summon Godzilla to the world, and be like, no, Godzilla's just here. You don't make, you can't make sense of an animal sometimes. You just can't make sense of an animal. He's just, and people would be like, he just stays near Japan. Why is he here? Why is he this far out in near Korea? Why did he come to Korea? And he's like, and people would, again, the big mystery would be you don't know. Yeah, movie theories would or whatever that channel's called, would basically be like, yeah, they'd have a field day with this film, because I'd really leave it up in the air of why Godzilla's here. He's just here. It's kind of like you don't know why the shark in Jaws is there. He's there now. You gotta deal with him. That's what I sometimes like about some of these films. Like, sometimes I will enjoy context, but other times it's like, does it matter where he came from? He's here now. Like, yeah. So that's what I would really play with this Godzilla film, is like, he's here, he is ruining everyone's lives in a war that is not fun. Like, in a war that is just completely decimating lives on every angle. And no one can really stop him. Like, Godzilla would just be wandering through. And would I and you're probably asking yourself, would you have another, monster for him to fight? As much as I love Godzilla fighting another monster, this would be one of the rare times where I'd be like, no, this is just Godzilla on his own. This would be a solo Godzilla film. Mostly because I don't think you need another monster here. Well, if this was Hollywood, Hollywood would go, well, throw in another monster. We're the producers, you gotta do what we say, put in another monster. But if I had my say, this would be straight up a Godzilla film, and showing, not because the original film is showcasing the horrors of mankind's, hubris and untapped potential of nuclear power. This movie would showcase the horrors of man's just destructive nature in war, and Godzilla would be the embodiment of that, and now he's just wrecking everything, and it would just be not focused on a soldier, but like, let's say, like a family or just a group of villagers who have been their lives have been thrown into total chaos. And that's where the movie that's how the movie would play out, is just Godzilla's here, he's ruining everything for everybody in every aspect. Civilians, military, government officials. Everyone's lives are now altered by this thing. Just like how war is. So yeah. So there you go, guys. That's just basically my Godzilla movie pitch. I'll probably do a Kong one, because I really want to do a Kong one, too. But yeah, you guys tell me for right now, what do you guys think of my Godzilla movie pitch? Do you guys like it, hate it? Comment below, let me know. And once again, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.